And joining us now to discuss is Henri Arslanian, crypto leader at PwC. Welcome to the show, Henri.
Thanks for having me,
as
Christine.
Always. So Binance is known for being on top of every innovation in the crypto space, from tokenizing stocks, NFTs they're getting into, DeFi. They're on top of every novel financial product out there, which often means operating within a legal gray area. So are we now seeing a global crackdown, a case of Binance pushing the limits of regulators, and now regulators are pushing back?
Well, it's a good question, because I think what was interesting in the case of the FCA action against Binance is not only they have to stop their regulated activities, but also because they also have to stop all the advertisement they've been doing, and also keep secure and store all the data information they have on their UK clients, which has been quite interesting. I think what actually was interesting as well, as we know, Binance today has about 65% of the global crypto to crypto market. I mean, just to put things in perspective, last month, from about the $2 trillion that was traded on crypto to crypto exchanges, 1.5 of that was actually on Binance. So I think the message that regulators try to send here as well is that the era of unregulated exchanges is coming to an end, and they may take action regardless of how big or small you are.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to put it, because I think the real question here is that, Binance hasn't actually really changed how their business model, right? They've always sort of been like, citizens of the universe or whatever, however they define themselves. So, I mean, do you think this is a sign that, are we going to start seeing this with other exchanges as well? I mean, Binance is a little bit of a unique situation, right? They kind of do their own thing. I mean, are you predicting that we're going to see kind of like a greater crackdown of other exchanges around the world? And are there other exchanges in particular that stand out for you?
Yeah, it's a good question, Emily. I would say I expect that, to put things in perspective, the FATF just came out this week mentioning that about 58 over its 120 plus countries that are members have come up with some kind of regulations on crypto exchanges and custodians, what they call VASPs. And actually, interestingly, 52 of those 58 are regulating crypto exchanges and custodians, and only 6 of them are banning them. I think the one area I expect to see a lot of enforcement over the next couple of months is really when it comes to crypto derivatives. You mentioned the case of Binance. Today, about 25% of open interest in Bitcoin futures actually are on the Binance platform. Even actually, to put things in perspective again, from last month, from the 2.5 trillion that were traded in Bitcoin futures, a trillion of that happened on the Binance platform. So again, it really shows you the scope of these. So I expect to see increased regulatory clarity, but also increased regulatory enforcement on crypto exchanges, and particular exchanges are offering crypto derivatives.
Welcome back, Henri. Do you think that this is very particular to Binance, though, because they've been so opaque about their location? And we kind of know they're in Singapore, maybe, sort of, but that's the point, right? We don't really know the exact details about Binance, and when you ask them questions, they hedge all their answers, and they're very dodgy about it. But do you think that this is sort of like now the regulators are trying to set an example, not just to and focus on Binance, so that it reminds the rest of the crypto industry, look, you guys need to play our rules now?
It's a good question, Lawrence. I think obviously I really expect to see the increased regulatory kind of monitoring on crypto exchanges to continue over the next couple of months. I think one interesting thing that I've been watching now is really what's going to happen really with a lot of these unregulated exchanges. As you mentioned, some of these exchanges really are not regulated anywhere. They don't really have an onshore presence from that perspective. So I'm really watching to see what's going to happen. I think one thing, the message the regulators are trying to send is very clear, is that the era of unregulated exchanges is pretty much coming to an end. And I think, yes, you can try to hide, you can try to go to new jurisdictions, but at one point, whether you like it or not, this is the regulators will come and want to regulate the space. Let's not forget, for most regulators, if protection of the retail public and financial stability is one of their core goals. And as we're seeing increased usage, increased trading, and increased activity of crypto assets, particularly by retail customers, I think it's very natural to expect regulators to come and actually try to put some control around the industry.
Just switching topics and taking a look, you mentioned regulation. China's been cracking down on mining. It seems they do this every year, though, mining and financial institutions funding accounts with crypto exchanges. You tweeted out that Bitcoin block time now is 13.4 minutes. This is quite incredible. Not surprisingly, the difficulty level is expected to drop by over 25% on Friday. A new record. Main cause is the drop of global hash rate post-China ban. And so what do you see in this new world of mining amid these crackdowns in China? Where do you think it'll all go? And is this truly different from previous bans made by China?
Yeah, Christina, as many of those who follow me on Twitter know, I've been following the crypto mining space very, very closely in the last couple of weeks. And I really think what some of the events that happened in mainland China in recent weeks are really game-changing. In the sense that obviously in the past, Bitcoin mining was kind of tolerated in China, and actually the state council has made it very clear that this activity would not be tolerated. And actually, frankly, the level of the hash drop that we've seen in really last 2 weeks has been absolutely phenomenal. And frankly, I think the such a difficulty drop that we'll see of 25%, I think it's not surprisingly will be a record. The one thing that I'm watching right now is really where is these miners going to go? As we know today, until 2 weeks ago, about 65% of Bitcoin mining happened in China, followed from the U.S. and then Russia. From the U.S., Russia, and obviously other countries like Kazakhstan. If I was a betting man and looking at the activity that's happening, I think we're seeing a lot of that Bitcoin mining move towards North America, particularly the U.S. I wouldn't be surprised if I was a betting man, let's say 12 months from now, to see that the majority of the Bitcoin mining, for example, is happening in the U.S. So I think it'll be very interesting to watch what that means and what the impact will have. Practically, will it have an impact on Bitcoin network? Not really. Will it have an impact on the operation of miners? It's probably, but again, it'll be just a geographical shift. I think one thing that this recent crackdown has shown is that the decentralized nature of Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin may happen in a country or another, but the reality is that the show goes on when it comes to Bitcoin mining.
Do you think that Latin America can attract miners?
When you look at Bitcoin mining, we'll obviously three criteria you look at. Obviously, one of them is obviously cheap cost of electricity, followed obviously by the cost of machine and then other ancillary costs. But really, obviously, the big component of it is the cost of electricity. When it comes to that, obviously, hydro is by far the cheapest form of electricity, followed by others, whether it's solar, wind, and the likes. I think one intangible element now that is added is really kind of the regulatory openness to welcoming the miners. I think what happened in China last month, will be in the memory of a lot of these miners. And I think as they make the decisions over the next couple of months, kind of how welcoming they feel wherever they go will be a big factor. And not surprisingly, actually, there was a lot of reports of some of, let's say, U.S. State governors who have been trying to welcome some of these miners to come over. And I think that's going to be one thing that people will be looking at. By the way, not very dissimilar to have crypto exchanges when regulators start regulating crypto exchanges. Crypto exchanges decide to go to jurisdictions where they felt welcome. I think it's very natural that we see the same thing happen with Bitcoin miners over the next couple of weeks and months.